Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Trevino here, and we have a wonderful guest from Los Angeles, California. We have Savannah the Networth Nurse. How you doing, Savannah?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
I can't complain. It's been a beautiful day, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of us who aren't familiar with you, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Like you said, my name's Savannah, I'm, the net worth nurse. Kind of a little bit about my background. I grew up and was raised in Sacramento. I went to Sacramento State University and got my nursing degree up there. Worked in a couple different specialties within nursing, and then went back to school and got my master's degree in nursing leadership and administration. Moved down to LA, and right now I oversee multiple departments in a hospital here in Los Angeles, California. Got into real estate investing at the beginning of last year, just wanting a way to generate some income, a way to invest to generate some passive income, and stumbled upon real estate. Started investing in single family homes, but shortly after made the switch into multifamily.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm just curious. When you said growing up in Sacramento, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In Sacramento, were you kind of exposed to the real estate market? Were you giving it any thought at all back then?
Honestly, no. I didn't really, no one in my family really invested in real estate. No one I knew. It was nothing I had ever thought about. When I first started working as a nurse, the majority of my investing and retirement was through 401k set up by my employer. So real estate really wasn't on my radar.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. So, I'm just curious. So, grew up in Sacramento, went to school, and then you decided to go back for nursing. What about nursing really speaks to you?
Yeah, I've always wanted to do nursing since I was in high school and kind of exploring I wanted to do as a career. Nursing stood out to me for a lot of different reasons, mainly just kind of the respect that that profession has in the world, just knowing some nurses growing up. And then in high school, I had the opportunity to be in a working program where I was in the hospitals talking to nurses and doctors, and just got to pick their brain about what they liked about healthcare. And then it just kind of further cemented what I wanted to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. You can kind of be able to help people, and it's a respectable profession, and there's a lot of growth in it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, where you're living in LA, when someone says LA, it's a huge metroplex. What part of town?
I live up in the valley in Van Nuys in LA. So, and then I work over in Burbank. LA is very, very big, but this is where my husband wanted to be. And so after we graduated from college, we moved down here, and we didn't have friends or family down here. And we just kind of made it our home base. And it's been home for the last 4 years.
Okay, absolutely. So for those of us who aren't too familiar with the geography in California, could you kind of describe, where Sacramento is in relation to LA?
Yeah, it's a straight 6 hour drive. So they're relatively close. I mean, I've always been a California girl, so it wasn't a huge culture shock coming to LA, but there are some big differences from Sacramento. Like you mentioned before we started, a lot of people, but it's so beautiful. I mean, it's sunny and 75 almost year round. There's so much outdoor stuff to do. It's a great place to raise a family, and I've really just fallen in love with the city.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I've been a few times. My aunt and uncle used to live in Folsom,
Oh.
Sacramento, and then I've been to LA as well. But just curious about the market. What are maybe some of the differences in the real estate markets between, say, Sacramento and LA?
So Sacramento's a little more suburban-ish feel, but it is close to the Bay Area, so it has a heavy influence from like the tech business of Silicon Valley and San Francisco. That's pretty big up there. Los Angeles, obviously, the film industry, entertainment industry is big down here. There's a lot of just entrepreneurs in LA, which is what I love. You get to connect with a lot of people down here who are doing all sorts of creative things. In terms of real estate, I mean, pretty similar, except LA is just a lot bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. I would imagine. So, in terms of Or better yet, I'm interested as well. Was there a specific moment? I know that you had gone back to school for nursing. You were doing all these sorts of things. What was there a specific moment when you had this aha moment and realized that you wanted to be in real estate?
Yes, it was. I was on maternity leave with my second daughter, and my husband and I were looking at different ways to invest our money. And we came across real estate, and I was just watching a YouTube video. I think it was like a Bigger Pockets YouTube video about the Burr method, with which is, if anyone doesn't know, it's where you're buying a property at really below market level value, something that needs a lot of work. And then you're renovating it, putting a renter in it, refinancing it to essentially pull out all that capital that you initially invested in it and repeating it and doing it over and over and over again, and really creating this portfolio of rentals that you're collecting cash flow on. And then also it allows you to kind of build as you go. So that was originally the aha moment for us. We were like, oh, no way, you can get into it, make your original capital stretch really far. And although we didn't end up doing that method, we kind of steered away from it. That was kind of what got us into real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just curious. You had mentioned how you were originally thinking about the method and then you decided against it. What was the reason for that?
Yeah. So like you were kind of mentioning the markets before in Sacramento and Los Angeles, it's just a lot higher price point of entry here. So we were never really going to invest here in California just because of the price entry point. So we were always going to be investing out of state. That's what we had planned to do. And so the Burr method, we were exploring and doing it out of state over in Atlanta, Georgia. And with the Burr method, you're taking a property that really needs a full rehab, and all your capital is really tied up into that one property. And although there are tons of people making that work, we didn't really feel comfortable tying all our capital and resources up into one property with a total rehab that we were going to be overseeing from across the country. My husband and I both have full-time jobs. We have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. It was kind of too risky for us. It was kind of out of our comfort zone. And then that forced us to kind of backtrack and be like, okay, well, we still want to do real estate. What's another option? And we ended up buying new build homes over in Atlanta, Georgia, and it ended up being a great investment. And then, like I said, after that, we quickly switched over into multifamily.
Yeah, I'm just curious as well as I've never actually thought about, someone living in one state and doing a rehab in another. How would you even go about doing that if you're living in California?
Yeah, a lot of people do it. I mean, it seems like the more I've touched base with investors, especially investors here in California, a lot of them are investing out of state. Really, you have to do your research and have a very strong team over there. So that was what we had planned to do, was build a very strong team over in Georgia, a great property manager who would be overseeing everything, a good broker, a good contractor. If you have those pieces in place, really a rock star team to carry out your business plan for you, then it should go as planned. We just, in order to kind of create those relationships also during COVID, when we're not necessarily able to travel, it was a little bit more difficult for us to do that. But since we bought our property, so the properties we ended up buying over there, we bought them without seeing them. And that was using the apps and technology that we have in 2021, where you're able to see, I mean, we were getting pictures uploaded to a portal for owners, basically all the progress going on with our new build townhomes. We were in constant communication with our lenders and the property manager over there. And it's been a fairly easy process from out of state. And that's because, I mean, if you're exploring another market out of state, there's all these resources you can look at to explore different trends going on, different price points. If you talk to good people over there, they'll know it. I mean, you can literally go on Google Maps and walk the streets in a different market, which is so awesome. So we just did a lot of our homework before we pulled the trigger and started investing over there.
Yeah, just wait till virtual reality really takes over and you're going to be walking new construction builds.
Right, I know.
No, that's pretty neat. It can seem like a daunting task for someone to, get out of their comfort zone, step into that new market in a place where, you generally wouldn't know anybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I think we continued to read different books and listen to podcasts of people that were doing it, and then really using their resources of like what kind of hard lessons they learned. That was a big thing. Like I was constantly Googling like what mistakes not to make. I mean, if you go on Bigger Pockets, there's tons of threads and forums, like all these mistakes that people are sharing that they made. And with the Burr method, the contractor holds so much weight in that method, that business strategy for real estate. And for us, that was just too risky, and we just didn't feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of goes back to that old adage, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? It's kind of
Hmm.
like you're putting all your eggs in that contractor basket.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just curious as well. I mean, you are the Networth nurse, right?
Hmm.
So you are working full-time nursing while doing part-time real estate?
Yes. Yep. So my husband and I now we started a real estate business where we're doing primarily multifamily syndications. So with anyone who's not really familiar of what a syndication is, because we definitely weren't when we started looking into real estate, it's an opportunity for investors to pool their capital together and then take down some of these bigger real estate projects, most usually apartment complexes, especially for us. So we're working with other investors who want to get into this building. It's usually higher rewards, less risk. And it really provided us this huge opportunity to work with other investors. And for me specifically, I found that a lot of the working professionals that I work with, like nurses and doctors and physical therapists, they are looking to invest in real estate, but don't necessarily want to do a lot of the heavy lifting, or they don't want to do a lot of the dirty work and of taking down the deal. And the syndications allow these people to invest in real estate without having to do all that. So it's honestly been the perfect partnership between us and limited partners coming in on these deals. And it's been a great opportunity for us to allow some of these other people to get into real estate.
Yeah, it's cool because it kind of puts you in a neat position where you're able to bridge the gap between you having the medical knowledge, but also with the real estate knowledge too.
Yeah, and honestly, there was a lot of similarities when we started exploring syndication. So right now, at the hospital, I do primarily administration and operations. So I'm overseeing multiple departments. I'm working with caregivers under me that are carrying out the day to day, and then doing process improvement, workflow. I'm working with physicians and different leadership teams to carry out different process. And it's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of constant communication, and very similar to what it takes to take down a big apartment deal. There's a lot of moving pieces in those as well, a lot of constant communication. It's a huge team effort in terms of taking down these larger deals. And I'm really relied on my experience in healthcare and administration and operations to get there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just curious as well, whether it's, taking care of your duties for nursing or real estate, to someone, it seems like it's a big endeavor to take part in, right? Being working in a busy hospital or working in a big syndication deal. How do you keep yourself organized?
Yes. Well, so motivation is the biggest thing. I think when we first started exploring real estate and investing and creating financial freedom, and for us, my husband and I, our why was, we have two young daughters. We wanted to get to a place somewhere 5, 10 years down the road where we have a lot more financial freedom than we do right now because we work full time. And we just wanted to put ourselves in a position 5, 10 years down the road where we could be as involved in our daughter's lives as we wanted to. And we realized we could get there through real estate. So that's really our huge why. And it's not something that we know we don't have to be doing it full time right now to get to those goals. And it was really where we wanted to be at 10 years, and then what goals and what we needed to do at 5 years to make that happen. And then what we needed to do at 3 years and 1 year and on a monthly basis and a weekly basis. And when we kind of worked backwards systematically, we were able to have a pretty uh, clear blueprint of what we needed to be doing on a daily, weekly basis to get to our dreams and our goals to make it happen within real estate. And when it's set up like that, it gives us a lot of motivation coming home from work where we work full time, and then hanging out with our daughters, and then getting into real estate because we know we need to be taking these steps on a daily, weekly basis to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just curious as well. I mean, are you, when you say you're working on real estate, are you like underwriting and evaluating the deals? Are you searching for the deals? Or I'm just curious, kind of how the husband wife team dynamic works in real
Yeah.
estate.
So our first deal, we did a lot of everything together, just because, like our first syndication deal, because it was a big deal. It was our first time doing it. We wanted to know how all the legal parts of the deal worked, all the financing, different calls with our lawyers, CPA, all the investor calls that we were doing, who are investors that were investing with us on the deals, and kind of what presentation we had to put forward with them. So that first deal, we did all of that together, just so we could see the ins and outs of the entire deal. And then after that, we were able to kind of break up the portions of the business to kind of what we liked. My husband is really great at the underwriting, the deal finding. He has great relationships with the brokers. So that's sort of his side of the business, is acquisitions and asset management. So he's overseeing our apartment deals that we have right now and making sure that our business plans are running smoothly. And then I've kind of taken over the marketing and the investor relations. That first deal, one of the biggest things we learned was that the investor relations is so important. And when we're educating a lot of these people who want to get into real estate investing and they don't even know what a syndication is or how it works, it's a lot of sitting down and walking them through it and explaining it. And I didn't have all the content and educational resources to provide them. I mean, I was kind of pushing them over to other resources. And then after we did that first deal, we decided to launch the brand, just so that I could have a huge foundation of all of my YouTube videos that I've created and the blog posts that I've written. And we created a doodle video that literally maps out what a real estate syndication looks like when you invest with us, so that these people who are looking to invest in one of our deals, they can go to my website, see all the content, and have a clear understanding of what it looks like to invest in a deal as a passive investor. And then at that point, when I hop on the call with them, we're really just going over that specific deal that we have under contract at the time, and then looking at the returns for that specific deal. And it takes a lot of that, putting in all that front work and working extra hard to build that is going to pay. It already has paid off so much in terms of investor relations.
Yeah, absolutely. Those relations are crucial, right? Whether it's in, any facet of real estate or business or whichever. But it's interesting how you're able to kind of lay out your process. You're able to, take someone from, knowing nothing about syndication to, being very educated on what you're doing, right?
Yes, yeah, it's been huge. I mean, even for us, and it was honestly just kind of the initial questions that investors have when they're looking at a syndication. They were always the same questions, like, what does it look like? What does it mean for my taxes? Like, at what point do I transfer the money over to you, and where does that money go exactly? And the doodle video we created like lists out exactly, as a passive investor, what they need to do. So it creates a lot of trust. And then it really just educates. And that was really important to us. We wanted investors investing with us with a very clear understanding of how everything worked in our deals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You mentioned it a few times, but the doodle video, could you kind of explain what doodle is, and maybe what specifically were describing in the video?
Yeah, Doodle, they kind of have them out there for everything now. It's honestly just someone sketching out pictures while there's a narrator in the background talking and kind of explaining things. So if you're a visual learner, it's super easy to follow along and see exactly what's going on. And then also, even if you're just kind of a audio learner, you can listen and get it that way as well. So we created this where, and because it's a syndication is such a big process and system, and there's a lot of moving pieces, we thought the doodle video would be a great way to really draw out kind of the different aspects of the syndication. So we talk about the split in there, how we split it with investors, what portion of the deal is their equity, how often they can expect their returns, what sort of returns they can expect, what sort of deals that we're looking at, and in what markets and why. I mean, it's a 5-minute video, which seems crazy that you can pack in all that information in 5 minutes, but it's so good. And we just uploaded into our YouTube. And now when we have investor calls who people are interested in investing with us, that's the first place we point them. And then after that, then we hop on a call with them and kind of go over our next deal.
That's awesome. That really, kind of streamlines the process, right? Because it kind of, it can paint a bigger picture for someone who's a visual person, right?
Yes, it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious as well. Did you write out a script for this and then, you kind of did it, or how do you go about that?
Yeah, we hired out someone on Fiverr. So that was something also that we learned when I started building this business was kind of how to outsource and leverage other people's skill sets to build a business. With building our website and some of the graphic design and some of the IT stuff, that's not one of my big strengths. And I learned that pretty quickly on as I started building my own website. I just did not have the capacity to do coding. I couldn't figure it out. And so that was something I hopped on a Fiverr and hired that out. And it's such an amazing website because I go on there and I type, so for the doodle video, yeah, we wrote a script exactly what we wanted in it. And the Fiverr guy who did our video basically built it out. And then you can give him feedback of things you want to change and tweak. And it was a great way to make it work. Leveraging other people's skills allows you to build your business a lot quicker without as much of a headache. And then that way we could focus on different parts of the business that we were good at.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can maybe draw a few parallels between, the real estate and the nursing, because in a sense, when you're a nurse, you're working with people, you're collaborating, but in this sense, it's almost like you're delegating, but it's in a different light, right?
Yes, exactly. So similar to the hospital, because even as the nurse, you have your respiratory therapists who come in and give breathing treatments for the patients. And then although you're giving medications, you can call the pharmacist at any time to walk through different side effects and type things. So it's very much a team sport for sure, building a business. And I definitely draw back on my skills in nursing for that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Maybe what are, I'm just curious, so what are some, some lessons you may have learned kind of when starting the business, scaling it up and getting to where you are now?
Yeah, so leveraging other people's skills, that was a huge one. Like I mentioned, we learned it especially for the website and then some of the content that we've created and just making it look pretty. There's other people that are really good at doing that. Also leveraging podcasts, that's been big for me. I was debating starting my own, but didn't necessarily have a lot of desire in creating it from scratch. So as of now, I've just been kind of hopping over to other people's podcasts just because podcasting is so important to me. It was how I got all my real estate, not all of my real estate education, but it's how I got the majority of my motivation was through listening to podcasts. I would listen to hours of podcasts every day. I still listen to them to and from work every day. That was big for me. And I wanted to give back to people through podcasts, anyone who just needed motivation or any encouragement to get started. I wanted to be able to provide that for people, but I didn't necessarily want to start my own podcast. So this is kind of, I've been appearing as guests on other people's podcasts, just kind of to spread the love that way. So kind of leveraging that aspect. And then, like I said, building kind of the educational material. That was a huge lesson learned after we did that first syndication deal, is that in order to build a brand and to create more content, it was very important for us to have that foundation of educational material and resources.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really neat. You kind of have that self-awareness to look back and kind of see the different, pieces of your journey to where you are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, what, I know you mentioned a bit about syndication, what it is. What sort of deals are you doing right now?
Right now we're doing strong value add deals. We still look in Atlanta, Georgia market. We look up in Oregon just because we have family up there and it's pretty close to us. We're also looking in Reno and then New Mexico as well. So we've created, like I mentioned earlier, great teams there. We have a great set of brokers in each of those cities that my husband communicates to on a really regular basis. And we've created great relationships with them in terms of building that trust and the communication piece of it. When they're sending us deals, we're getting feedback to them very quickly. They know that they can take us seriously. I think that's kind of a hard part of someone getting into the real estate world, of getting brokers to take you seriously and then sending you the good deals, because that's honestly the best way you're going to be taking down deals, is to get good deals sent to you. That deal funnel is so important. So we created the great relationships in the different cities. We're looking at strong value add deals, which are deals with either, usually they're poorly managed by the previous owner, whether or not they weren't increasing rents, or there was different parts of the business plan that weren't really pushed out as much as they could. Like maybe the expenses are out of control, and we come in and we can kind of chop them down and then really increase that NOI, or the net operating income. And then we usually sell after like 3 to 5 years, and then we're able to return our investors' capital and then some.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought up a really important acronym. For those of us who don't know, could you describe what NOI is and why it's important?
Yeah, net operating income. So this is all the income that your, in our case, apartment building generates. And that's usually through rents or other things on the property, like vending machines or laundry, anything in your building that's producing income. So one of our last syndications, we had the opportunity to turn a storage unit into a studio unit. And this adds an extra, it was 750, because that's what a studio rents out every month. So that times 12, it was what it increases the NOI every year. So really pushing out the value add strategy is ways to increase that NOI, and then really just create the best return on investment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crucial. In terms of maybe other acronyms or other terms that people you think should be familiar with in the multifamily space, what else are you looking at when you're looking at a deal?
Oh man, I usually say them, and then I have to stop and remind myself. But now I'm kind of drawing a blank now that you're saying it. NOI, ROI is the return on investment. That's pretty common, I guess, in all real estate and investment worlds. IRR, internal rate of return; AAR, average annualized return. Those are some numbers we look at. Cash flow. Those are really the biggest projectors that we give to our investors who are looking at deals to invest with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And what will you say that cash flow is?
So we aim for, I mean, depending, so we have different strategies for different deals. Some of the strong value add deals have low cash flow. It could be like 6, 7%, which is kind of on the lower end, but that's because it takes a lot of work to get the building up to the performance level. So these usually buildings that have way below rents. So when you're coming into it, it's not really cash flowing day one. You're kind of breaking even until you can get in there, start increasing the rents, renovate or decrease expenses, whatever your business plan is. It kind of takes maybe 6 months to a year to really get that rolling, and then that cash flow increases. But we look for a wide range on our deals. I mean, some of our lower cash flowing deals like 6, 7%, but some of the higher ones close to 15.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'd used a word earlier a few times. You'd said value add. Could you kind of describe what a value add project is?
Yeah. So that's back adding anything to increase that NOI, the net operating income. So it's looking for a place to really add any value to a building. So for us, if you have a building that is collecting below market rents, and then you're able to raise them, I mean, 25% over a 3-year period, then you really, really increase that NOI, and you're able to get a lot more money for the building. Different value add strategies are putting in place different things that will collect income. So laundry. So we've looked at buildings where they weren't even charging for laundry, but then if you can go in there and start charging for laundry, then it increases your income that you're receiving on the property. Also, expense control is a really good way that you can go in and add value. So if you're looking at a building like, a 100-unit building that has 3 people on site managing it, and you only need 2 people on, and you can cut a, $60,000 salary in year one, I mean, that's a huge opportunity to add value to the deal. And then you're really increasing that net operating income while decreasing the expenses. And it really just gives you a lot more returns on your capital.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So it's interesting how, you can call it value add, but at the same time, cutting expenses is also, adding to your value.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I know you'd mentioned Oregon, you because you have family there. You've mentioned Georgia. I'm just curious, what is it about Georgia that you like as a state or maybe as a market?
Yeah, it's a hot market for sure. I mean, if you listen to anything about real estate or to hear anyone talk about real estate, Atlanta will usually get brought up. It's a hot market. For us, we have a couple friends who live over there who are in the film industry. So because that's so near and dear to our hearts here in LA, we just have seen it firsthand here and the impact it's made on the whole city. And it's really taking off over in Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, a lot of stuff is filmed over there. Major studios are being built there. Marvel just moved over there. I know Dwayne Johnson, Tyler Perry. There's studios that are being built all over Atlanta. And then also they've just have seen very consistent growth for the last 5-10 years. There's a lot of different projections and plans within the city to continue growth. Chick-fil-A headquarters, Walmart, Amazon, a lot of big diverse job markets are over there. And then that really just brings population with it. So with that is increasing housing prices and that sort of thing. So we have been looking over there. That's where we own our single family homes. We haven't done a multifamily deal over there yet, but we really plan to soon.
Yeah, absolutely. At least in the headlines, for me, you hear a handful of states, you'll hear about Florida, Texas, Georgia. I'm just curious as well. You don't generally hear about New Mexico, and you
Mhm.
mentioned New Mexico, right?
Yeah, there's a couple submarkets over there, some that are experiencing a lot of growth. So we started exploring that really just through a referral of another investor. A huge thing that we learned in real estate pretty early on is to network as much as possible. I mean, it really does mean your network really is your net worth, honestly. You get so much from the relationships that you build in the community. And it was really just talking with other investors that we've met either through meetups or masterminds or even through podcasts that were investing over there for particular reasons. And they kind of showed us why and what they were looking at and connected us with a good broker. And so then we just started doing our homework on the city. So that's like hopping on Zillow and Redfin and looking kind of what bid sub markets are there, what places are selling for. Zillow shows all the demographics of like school ratings, neighborhood codes, crime, all that stuff, appreciation, how much it's grown. That's a great website that we use when we're exploring a market. And then we just started doing that over there and calling property managers, talking to them, getting some deals sent to us by some investors. But it was honestly another investor that encouraged us to look over there.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. It kind of all comes full circle back to being connected with people in different markets.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Reno, what's Reno like?
Reno, we have family there as well, and they're getting a lot of influence from the Silicon Valley, which was close to us over in Northern California. So Sacramento is like smack dab in the middle of San Francisco, and Reno, it's right in the middle. So a lot of the Bay Area, Silicon Valley has been moving over there. They have a huge healthcare renown is very big up there. They have the university. I think Tesla moved over there. I know he moved to Texas, but I think they built kind of one of their subquarters over there. Some other big names moving over there, and they've experienced a lot of growth. But the problem in Reno is there's not a lot of inventory. So when we're looking in that market, our strategy has really changed. That's maybe more looking at new builds, different multifamily units where we can kind of build something new construction type thing.
Yeah, you brought up something interesting is also the new construction aspect. It almost seems, some people may have done flips, they've done these light value add projects, but new construction is a bit foreign to them. What's appealing to you about new construction?
New construction in a growing city with not a lot of inventory is huge. And that's really kind of the reason why that's an option in Reno, because there's not a lot of inventory, but because it's projected to grow so much in the next few years, new builds make sense because you're providing housing, which is needed in a growing city. And then also the ability to appreciate over time is huge in these projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, I mean, I can only kind of speak for the Texas market, but a lot of the major metros here, where we don't have much inventory. So, that's kind of the objective for people is to build.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was the other Oregon? What is Oregon like?
Oregon. Oregon, we have family there. That's where my parents are. We have a multifamily deal up there and just got under contract for another one in that market. It's a really strong rental market up there in the submarkets that we're looking at, and really low delinquency even since the beginning of COVID, which has been a big concern when we're looking at deals. We want to buy buildings where people are paying rent, and in different cities, it's all over the place. I mean, all over the country, there's different statistics on what cities people aren't paying rent and what they are. In Oregon, the delinquency rates are very low. All the buildings that we're looking at and submitting offers on are delinquencies of almost, I mean, close to zero, really. So that's been very appealing to us, especially investing throughout COVID. And then also we don't hear a lot of people investing over there because of different things like rent control. There's not a lot of investors that want to be dealing with that kind of stuff. They're more in the hot markets, like you said, Florida, Texas, Georgia. And so we've kind of had the ability to scoop in there and find these diamonds in the rough with great brokers and get these off market deals sent to us. And it's allowed us to create a great portfolio up there.
Yeah, it's kind of neat what you can do when you're just willing to, to kind of look around and see what's out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we covered all of the markets you mentioned that you're in for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we talked a bit about, what you've done in the past in terms of, kind of melding your knowledge with nursing to what you're doing now. What are you looking, what's Savannah's long-term plan? What are y'all looking to do in the future?
Yeah, we really just want to. I mean, me particularly, I'm building out the Net Worth Nurse. And this I love so much because before I started investing in real estate, I was a nurse working long hours, making good money, but not really knowing what to do with it besides the traditional retirement. And through real estate and through building the Net Worth Nurse, I have now this opportunity to connect with other professionals in my field who I work with on a day-to-day basis and show them all the different financial strategies out there within real estate and different opportunities. So that's been so awesome for me. Just kind of educating people on that and working with other people. I mean, on our last deal, I had a nurse that I worked with invest with me and a physical therapist. And it's just been so awesome for them to come into real estate, learn about it, get as excited about it as I am, and get really great returns from it. I mean, better returns than they're getting from their 401k and 403b retirement accounts. So that's my main goal. And I love having those conversations with people, building that part of my business, and just kind of creating more content, putting more resources out there so that anyone who does want to invest with us in our next deal can. And then just continuing to find multifamily deals. We're connecting with a lot of other investors who are doing big things, and real estate's just such an amazing community to get into because you're dealing with entrepreneurs who are out here trying to conquer their goals and achieve great things and just be really positive lights in the community. And it's been a great pleasure meeting all these people in the space.
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely neat meeting other people who are like-minded, but also at the same time, those sorts of people are looking for those diamonds in the rough deals in Oregon, right?
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I'm also interested as well, kind of the husband and wife team in real estate. I think that's so neat. What is that like?
Yeah, I mean, that was so important for us to really get full force in it together. My husband's always kind of mentioned real estate, but I never wanted to be a landlord. I never wanted to have tenants and deal with that. So when he ever mentioned it in the past, it was kind of like, like we never really pursued it. And then when I discovered it, when I was on maternity leave and I got so excited about it, and we sat down together and, like I said, made those long-term goals of what we wanted our life to look like. And that was huge for us because it allowed us to get on the same page and come together and be like, look, this is where we want to be, and real estate can and will get us there. We just need to be doing A, B, and C, and we're going to get to our goals by this amount of time. And we are so confident in that, and we work hard to get there. And it's been a great balance. And honestly, the ability that we have now to kind of achieve these things together and kind of have these little victories and celebrate together. I mean, we just got under contract on our next deal, and that was like a little celebration for us that we got to celebrate together. So outside of our normal jobs, I mean, it does seem like another full-time job because we're doing it and spending so many hours invested into this business. But for us, it's so fun. We love, I mean, there's definitely hard parts about it. Don't get me wrong. It is work sometimes, but we're so excited about it. And we know it can get us to the point where we want to be. And so we invest a lot of our time just because we want to get to our goals in 5, 10 years.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talked about, having kids, you talked about
Mhm.
the financial freedom, kind of the way that you're wanting to pave, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Savannah, is there anything that you haven't said that you'd really just like to hit home?
Not really. I feel like you gave me the opportunity to get it all out there. I guess if anyone wants to get a hold of me, you can find me under the Net Worth Nurse. That's my handle on all social media accounts. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. You can find me under the Net Worth Nurse. That's also my website. And my email is Savannah at thenetworthnurse.com. I love connecting with people. I love talking real estate. So if you're even remotely interested in anything that I said tonight, link up to me and reach out to me. I'd love to chat.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, Savannah. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show. I've learned quite a bit, not only about you, but also kind of the connection, between nursing to what you're doing now and what you're looking to build on. And it's been great.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, night.